Hi, I'm Dave with Canyon Chasers Motorcycle Sport Touring. One of the most common questions we get here at the site are from people who wish to participate in a track day but don't know where to start. Now, we ride almost exclusively with Apex track days, and every track day provider is going to have their own set of rules, but we're going to share with you some of the most common ones we've encountered. The first question everybody asks is, do I need to safety wire my bike? Well, the answer would be yes if you were getting ready for racing. But racing and track days are very different things, and so setting up your bike for a race or a track day is also very different. Getting your bike ready for your first track day is actually very straightforward and does not require a catch basin or any safety wire. Virtually every track day we've participated in has a no glycol rule. This is going to be the hardest part of your track day prep. When you first arrive at the track, your bike is going to be subjected to a fairly thorough tech inspection. And most track day providers will check your radiator to ensure that the glycol has been replaced with an appropriate substitute. Glycol is the key ingredient in antifreeze, and when it's spilled, it's extremely slippery. Every bit as slippery as motor oil. So before you show up for your track day, you're going to need to drain your coolant and replace it with either pure distilled water or distilled water with a non-glycol based additive such as water wetter, or the product that we prefer, Liquid Performance Ice Water. These products provide better cooling than antifreeze, but they provide absolutely no protection from freezing. Next, you will either have to unplug or tape your lights. Back in the day, putting tape over your headlights was a requirement because headlights used to be made of glass. So if you had an incident, the glass would shatter and create a huge mess. But today, virtually all headlights are made of plastic. Most track days will require that your headlight be unplugged or disabled. And if they can't be disabled, then they will require them to be covered with tape. This is to reduce the potential for distraction. And this is most important with your brake light. If you cannot unplug or disable your brake light, then you will need to use tape thick enough to prevent any light from leaking through. We strongly encourage you to remove your mirrors, but if you can't, these too will need to be taped over to prevent you from using them. You need to ensure your bike is in good working order. Your tires need to be in near new condition. They will also check the condition of your chain and sprockets, and your brake pads must be in good shape. Your foot pegs and levers must be securely attached and move freely, and yes, your levers must still have the little round balls on the end. Finally, your throttle must self-close without sticking. They'll check that your exhaust pipe is firmly attached, but it's up to you to triple check that your engine drain bolt and filler cap are properly tightened. Tech inspection will check the overall condition of your bike, so it's a good idea to show up with a clean and orderly motorcycle. Filthy, unkept bikes are usually subjected to even more scrutiny, because riders who aren't very good at cleaning their bikes usually aren't very good at maintaining them. Next will be your gear. While every track day provider is different, in most cases you will be required to have a full-face DOT, sometimes Snell-rated helmet that is less than 5 years old. Not all track day providers allow for modular or flip-face helmets. We want to emphasize that the manufacturer date of the helmet must be less than 5 years old, not 5 years from the date of purchase. You'll need full-finger, leather gauntlet gloves, and solid over-the-ankle boots. Motorcycle-specific gear is sometimes required. One-piece leathers are the preferred kit, but two-piece leathers are accepted as long as they have a full circumference zipper at the waist. Some track day providers allow you to use synthetic riding gear in their beginner groups, but be sure to verify this before you arrive. Now that your bike and your gear is squared away, what should you pack? We suggest trailering or transporting your bike to the track in a pickup, if at all possible. Even if you sport tour 1,000-mile days, track day riding will be extremely exhausting because of how active you will be on the bike. Some tracks will have day garages that can be rented, but if not, you'll probably want some form of protection from the elements. Pop-up awnings are very popular. Bring some lawn chairs, a cooler with lots of water, and nutritious food for the day. We also suggest bringing some basic tools just in case. And never leave home without a quality tire gauge. If you just don't have the means to transport you and your bike to the track, when you arrive, you'll find that motorcyclists are good folk, and if you're friendly, you're sure to find someone who'll be willing to share a lawn chair and some shade with you. Once your bike has passed the safety inspection, your pit area is set up. It'll be time for the riders meeting. Every track day will have a mandatory riders meeting you must attend. This is where they will explain all the nuances of the day, such as the schedule, flags, track entrance, track exit, and the like. There will also be an opportunity to ask questions. Be sure to ask about recommended tire pressures and find out if there is a tire vendor on site. Usually there will be a tire guy out there to help, and many times they can provide trackside suspension tuning. Don't hesitate to take advantage of these services. Also, virtually every track day we've attended has a first-time riders orientation that takes place after the riders meeting that provides a little extra detail. And in most cases, they will have staff on hand to provide some extra instruction throughout the day to help you get the most out of the experience. Keep in mind that track riding has its own set of etiquette that you will be expected to understand and follow. Most track days are broken into groups, typically A, B, and C based on the speed of the group. Some track days will be labeled as an open day, where there are no sessions. Everyone can be on the track together at one time, from the pro-level racer to the first-time rider. Apex Track Days uses a 3-group, 3-session format, with each group riding 20 minutes out of the hour. Sessions are announced over the loudspeaker to give you time to get on your bike and lined up at the track entrance before your session starts. First call means you have a few minutes, second call means you should be pulling your helmet on, and third call means your session is just about to be released onto the track. When it's time to get on the bike and ride, there's a few things you really want to be aware of. First is actually getting on the track safely. Even if you think you're the first person entering the track during your session, you always want to look over your shoulder and check for anybody else coming. You just never know. Also, the first corner you enter into, you really want to make sure you stay wide or stay off the race line as you go through this first corner. You never know if someone else is going to be coming up on you, sometimes potentially up to 100 miles an hour faster than you're going. So you want to make sure you stay out of that person's way for your first couple corners. Now, we mentioned earlier that most track days usually do a 2-group or a 3-group session. Typically, if it's a 3-group session, your A group is going to be like your racer group. They're the uber fast guys. They have the race prep machines. And depending on the track day, you may see actual pro racers out there. The B group is typically the intermediate group, and it's going to have the widest mix of riders and different skills. The C group is for the entry-level riders or the fast but less competitive riders. If this is your first time, despite how many years you've been riding and how fast you are in the street, you probably want to start in the C group. You also try to remember these groups are not necessarily an indication of experience level or skill, but they're more a segmentation of how people ride in these groups. Also, if you feel like things just aren't working out in your group, most track day providers will allow you to move to another group during the day. Once you're on the track, it's really important that you keep your situational awareness really, really up. You don't want to turn off your brain just because you're in a closed course environment and everybody is moving the same direction. You really need to be paying attention to the flagging stations. The flaggers are going to be communicating with you and telling you what's going on the track. There'll be several flags they use. Usually most track days use 3 to 4 different flags. You'll see a standing yellow, a yellow that's just out there steady. That means there's a caution somewhere on the track. If the yellow flag is waving, it means that the caution is imminent. It means there's somebody has fallen or there's something in the middle of the track you need to be aware of. If you see a red flag, you need to get off the track. You need to finish your lap and get off the track. And then the final flag you'll see is the checkered flag. That means you've won your session. So in that case, you kind of almost treat it like a red flag. You just basically exit the track. Passing is something else you really kind of need to understand when you get on the track. The hardest thing for a lot of new track riders is to understand that if that rider is faster than you, they will pass you. You don't need to be courteous or try to get out of other riders' ways. If that rider is faster than you, they will pass you. So you don't really need to do a whole lot for that. The most important thing to remember, though, is to not look behind you. You never want to be looking behind you because invariably when people look behind them, they drift a little bit, and that usually causes a more dangerous situation than if they just look ahead and keep doing what they're doing. Also, when you come up to other riders, you typically want to avoid passing on the inside of corners. It's usually a much more courteous or cautious thing to pass people around the outside. There's really nothing scarier than tipping into a corner and seeing a rider right there inside of you that you didn't even know is there. That's called a stuff, and you usually try to avoid that on a track day. Something else to kind of be aware of is because you don't have a tail light or turn signals or anything like that, the only way to really communicate on the bike is to actually raise your hand, take your hand off the handlebar. That usually communicates that you're having a bike problem, you're getting off the race line, or you're exiting the track. So we always just want to raise our hand if we're going to be doing anything other than going really quickly, and we always want to raise our hand when we're exiting the track. Keep in mind that you're in no way required to ride every session. If you find yourself getting tired, making mistakes, or noticing any signs of dehydration, allow yourself to skip a session or go home early if it's near the end of the day. Most riders can't ride every session, and it's more important that you're prepared for your time on the track rather than to rush just to get your money's worth. Skipping a session in the middle of the day usually allows you to ride the sessions at the end of the day when others have already called it quits. And the last session of the day typically has the fewest people and the most open track. We absolutely love track days. Without having to commit to a race bike or to racing, you can enjoy quality time on a closed circuit where you can really focus on your own riding without having to worry about oncoming traffic, gravel, deer, or law enforcement. We've found that our many years of participating in track days has really furthered our own riding exponentially because it allowed us to explore our own personal limitations in a controlled environment. Thanks for watching. We really hope this video has been helpful. Please check out canyonchasers.net for more product reviews, travel logs, how-to videos, and much, much more.